How's it going, everybody? Today, I've got a cheap tool haul from probably the least likely place you would ever expect, and that is Ross. So yeah, Ross, the same place that sells cheap clothes and cheap crap like that. They've also got a small tool section, and my wife and daughters, they like going into Ross, and finally one day I went in with them and I found their little tool section, and every time I go in there with them, I always find something that I can't live without. So we went the other day and they were having a sale, and I just got all kinds of stuff. So let's look at it and have a further discussion on, are cheap tools worth your money, period. There's a lot of opinions on that, and I've got my own, and we'll get into that too. Okay, so cheap tools, are they worth it? Well, just a little background on me. I was a professional mechanic for 20 years. So I made a living with tools. So I had to depend on what I used. Most of that time, I worked field service on heavy equipment. So that brings a whole nother level of quality of tools. And you have to, when you work outside with your tools, sometimes you lose some. So then you had to play the, do I want the best? Can I afford to lose the best? There's a whole different thought pattern than when I worked in a shop. I worked for Freightliner, Kenworth, and a few just random truck shops in a shop. And I never lost anything working in a shop, never. When I worked out in the field, you'd lose stuff every once in a while. It'd fall in the mud, the dirt, couldn't find it. When you're working field work, there's usually a heightened level of rush. Like, hey, we need this dozer now. A whole different aspect of stuff. Because I worked for a construction company, one of the biggest construction companies in this part of the country. And whole different aspect on it. So, tools, back to tools. Just wanted to give you a background of where I was coming from on tools. So, cheap tools. I've got a bunch of them. Got a bunch of cheap tools. Let's take a peek. Okay, we're back. Cheap tools. Well, it's actually been several days since I recorded this video. And when I was doing this, I don't know, I messed something up. Plus, I wasn't really happy with what I did anyway, so we're doing this again. So we got the Ross tool haul. We'll get to that in a minute. But right now, we're going to discuss cheap tools and if they're worth your money. So I gave you my background so you know where I'm coming from. Let's get into it, and we're going to start with wrenches. So wrenches. Once again, this is something that if I were to suggest to a new guy starting out, find something with a warranty. I've got everything from Northern Tool, Craftsman, Matco, Thorson. Of course, they're made in USA. I had everything. My goal was to have at least 2 to 3 of every size. So everything in my tool set started out with Craftsman. So when I decided I wanted to be a mechanic, my parents got me for Christmas or something, like one of those 400 or 500 piece, I don't know. This has been 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Tool set is all Craftsman. So like these Craftsman wrenches, I've had these since I was in high school. Craftsman tools 20 years ago, I don't know anymore. But Craftsman tools used to be like the echo of chainsaws. They weren't flashy. They weren't the latest and greatest, but they did the job. They did the job well. And one thing about Sears, they never gave me any flack for a broken tool, ever. Never, ever. So Craftsman always had its place. not the coolest, you know, you're not going like, hey, look at my brand new set of Craftsman wrenches. You weren't going to do none of that, but you were going to make money with them. So, cheap wrenches. I'll show you my favorite wrenches of all time. And they are the cheapest wrenches I ever bought. Pittsburgh. So these are extra long. So right here are three 9/16 wrenches. We've got a Cobalt, just a standard Cobalt, a Mako, and then the extra long Pittsburgh. So I bought these in probably 07 or 08, these Pittsburghs. And at the time, I don't even know if you can still get these, to be honest with you. I have no idea. But I have a full set of these, and I have never bent, broke, twisted, cracked anything of these. Been excellent wrenches, and the extra length I love. So, all this kind of stuff you can buy as cheap as you want, and it really don't matter. But you start getting into stuff like this, you run out of options. So this one is a cat. You can tell because I had to customize it to fit. And I think I made the construction company I was working for buy me this. But if you notice something, that's a snap-on and that's a cat. I've always had this suspicion that whoever made cat made snap-on. I've never looked into it. I've never really cared enough to, but when you get into stuff like this, you're pretty well going to have to buy name brand. Now, the shorties, you can get those from anybody, but I had gotten Mac, and these, 20 years ago, you had to buy these quality. These are Blue Point, never broke one. But I know some people who absolutely love a snap-on wrench. See the side of it, how thin it is? And they're kind of pointy. Here's a Mac. They're real chunky. To me, these Pittsburghs were like a nice happy medium. That's why I liked them so much. Snap-on always hurt my hand. I worked on big stuff, heavy equipment, in semis. I never worked on small stuff until later on. So I was always using, hardly ever did I even have a 3/8 impact. It was always 1/2 inch, 3/4, or 1 inch impacts. And you don't want to hold on to a sharp wrench with a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch impact on the other side. I hated snap-on wrenches. So I never bought any. I had those specialty wrenches there, and that was really it. And most of that stuff I never bought new. So there's another tip for people. Don't buy this stuff new. Go to pawn shops or eBay. Find that stuff used. Don't buy it off the truck. That's the worst thing a kid can do, is to go on a tool truck. We all did it. I was always a cheapskate though. I always instantly regretted everything I ever bought off of one. I'd usually get over it, but stay off of them things. Just pliers, to me, is an area you can definitely skimp on money. So I've got basically 4 pretty close to the same style of pliers. And I've got Cobalt, Cornwell, Vice Grip, Channel Lock. And it don't make no difference. They're all great. Variation in price. This kind of stuff you can buy anywhere. Now to me, when you get into something like this, these are extra long needle nose, and these are Mac. I paid up for these because at the time, no one else made a quality substitute. Screwdrivers. Here's another big area you can save money. Once again, Craftsman, chrome vanadium. Here's there's a snap-on. This is a cat. The only time you need to spend big money on screwdrivers is you get into specialty stuff like this, like an extra long. Yeah, you're gonna have to probably buy that off the truck. Pry bars. You ain't skimping on these. Mac, Snap-on. Pry bars is an area, if you skimp on these, you're going to hurt yourself. You get a 36-inch pry bar and you're putting all your weight on it and the tip breaks off or bends over, it's a bad day. Ratchets, big area to save money in. Here's a Craftsman. I've broke this thing probably half a dozen times. No big deal, they gave me another one. Here's a Snap-on. I hardly ever use it, don't like it. I bought it used though. This is an area you definitely need to invest. Wobble sockets, these are Matco. I got these used in 2002. This is a 15/16. It's the size I used all the time. Broke it a couple times. But they changed design. The old ones had a single pin right there. The new design looked like that, like a cross in there. Horrible. They don't maneuver very well, and they're not even stronger. So I'm not sure why they did that. Same thing with 3/8 drive. This is the type of stuff that you can't buy cheap. So one area that I would save money, like especially on impact sockets and stuff. So I would go to Harbor Freight, and I got these around 2004. Back then you could buy a set of 1/2-inch drive impact sockets for 10 to 20 bucks, dirt cheap. And I've had these the entire time, never broke a single one of them. But their kits would only get you so far. So when I would get up to 1 1/8, I believe this is what that is. Yeah, 1 1/8. I would buy something quality. There's a Snap-on. Same thing with the 12-point. This one's pretty worn out. Mac, 1/2-inch drive. I needed a 12-point socket to take drive shafts off of semis. I saved the money and didn't buy a whole set because I only needed the 1/2-inch. So that was a good idea to save money. I had no purpose for a whole set of 12-point sockets. So I would buy Harbor Freight. And let's get something straight here. 20 years ago, Harbor Freight's quality was garbage. It was extremely hit and miss. Their quality now, I wouldn't be afraid to go in there and buy everything you need. They're good stuff. It's really good stuff. I don't see the benefit of buying off the truck for anything other than specialty stuff that they don't sell. So what kind of stuff would you be talking about there? Here's a good example. Snap-on bushing driver set. You're not going to get this anywhere else. New, this is almost $1,300. I bought it used. Saved a lot of money. I used it a lot. A very good set. So what about tools breaking? Well, let's see here. We've got a 3/4-inch drive Matco, 1 1/8. Broke in half. Don't get any better quality than that. All the way to the other end of the spectrum, here's a Harbor Freight ratchet that's broke right now. Right beside a Mac ratchet that's broke. And a Craftsman Universal. All tools break. It don't matter what they say on the side of them. They all break. I've never come across a tool brand that doesn't break. You use them professionally or incorrectly, they're going to break. So, what's my takeaway from all this? Make informed decisions when you buy. Don't just get on Lowe's.com and order whatever you think you're going to need. Go out and about, hit pawn shops, hit garage sales, hit flea markets, hit the tool truck if you want, but do it in a way that makes sense. Too many times you see a lube tech go out and spend $10,000 on the tool truck, and all he really needs is like a 13, 14, and 16 millimeter wrench. And it's like, what are you thinking? You make $12 an hour. I don't know. I worked with people who you couldn't beat them out of a tool truck if their life depended on it. They were going to be in there spending every penny of their paycheck. And I was never addicted to tools. To me, they were a means to make money. I like tools. I like buying cheap tools that are quality. I never got hung up on a brand. I was not even remotely brand loyal to any tool. Not at all. Didn't care. Could have cared less what brand it was. Didn't care if they matched. Any of that. Didn't care. Just needed them to do the job. There's people out there who have to have the same brand everything. More power to them. I don't. Never did. So, are cheap tools worth it? Absolutely. Absolutely, they're worth your money. Do it correctly, though. Do it informed. Because there are cheap tools out there that are just garbage. It don't matter how cheap they are. They're not worth your money. And if you've got to buy something 10 times because you broke it, you should have just bought the quality one the first time. And if people are paying you to work on stuff, the last thing they want you dealing with is your junky tools. They don't want you looking for tools. You better have an organized toolbox, and you better have quality stuff, because no one wants to pay you by the hour to dig through your toolbox looking for a wrench. There's nothing that irritates me more than seeing somebody who's getting paid to work on stuff looking for tools. I mean, to me, that's 100% unprofessional. When that's your job and that's your way you make money, you better have that stuff organized and know exactly where that stuff is. Just my thoughts. Kind of a pet peeve of mine. You wouldn't know it now. My crap is scattered and unorganized and whatever, but I'm not getting paid by nobody. So I can junk it up however I want. Anyway, that's my 2 bits on cheap tools. Let's get back to that Ross tool haul. So I got a plug kit. I try and keep a plug kit in most everything I own. And these are cheap. You can get them at Harbor Freight cheap too. They're a couple bucks. But they will definitely get you out of a pinch. Those will get you out of a pinch. This is what I keep at the house here on the farm. This is what I use when I'm not in a pinch. And this is a very, very nice plug kit. Really good tools, heavy. You can put a lot of weight into these and really get after it. These, you better hope that they work once or twice to get you out of a bind. Very good set right here. I think this is blackjack. Good set. What else did we get? It's got some scrub brushes that go in 1/4-inch hex. Those look like they'll be pretty good for cleaning up interior. Some miniature vice grips. This is the ones that I really wanted. But, of course, it came with all 3. But I really wanted the C-clamp style. These little ones like this, extremely handy. Brush set, a boar brush set. Got nylon, brass, and carbon. It looks like maybe those are stainless, either carbon or stainless. Let's see. What's it say? Steel brushes, yeah. Nylon, so just regular carbon steel. So all this stuff was half off. So those $12.99. It was like what, $6.50? These were $4. $2.50. I think that was $4.99 too, so I think that was $2.50. Got a little air inflator. I keep these in every vehicle too. They'll get you out of a pinch. This one was $6, or not $6, $5.50. Now this is, I was really excited about these two. I like pliers. These are kind of like the water pump style. 12-inch though. Really nice and long. Get some serious leverage on these. They were $5. This is a magnetic nut driver set for an impact, and $2.50. This is a magnetic angle level. Same thing. I think it was like $7.99 or something like that, and it was half off of that, so it was like $4. This is actually name brand Crescent. Of course, they con you with the old designed, engineered, and tested in the USA. Don't say nothing about made in the USA. So, got some pretty good stuff. These are my favorite, and this is my second favorite here. Those right there. So, Ross, yeah, discount clothing store. They've always got a little tool section. And every time I go in there, I find something I want. Never know. If you got a Ross close to you, go in there and check it out. Well, cheap tools. That's a personal decision for everyone. Yeah, I'd like to have, $100,000 worth of tools behind me here, but for what reason, really? None. I don't make a living with them anymore, but I do have to do a way better job of keeping up with them, especially with the pumpkin patch and all that stuff. I have lost so much stuff in the last 5 years, it's not even funny. All the time, just losing it. Somebody will walk off with it and leave it somewhere. I'll leave it somewhere. I never lost stuff when I was a mechanic. And that's pretty frustrating. Because I know I've got it, but I can't find it. But anyway. Well, I mainly just wanted to show you what I got at Ross. And have a little discussion on cheap tools. And we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.